Good evening, I'm Shane Jones, leading the news at 7. Finance Minister Chris Sinclair is standing firm by the measures he outlined in last month's financial statement and budgetary proposals. Minister Sinclair made the point that while Cabinet is always open to credible and implementable suggestions, government will be focusing on moving forward with the proposals settled on after weeks of consultation and deliberation on a number of options.
We settle on the ones that we think are the least devastating, but that can achieve the objectives of the government. And those are, to quietly remain, one, to ensure that we stop the decline in the incipient decline in the foreign reserves at the basic level, because we know that reserves move up and down. But if there's an underlying problem and they keep declining and you don't address the underlying problem, which is that there's a higher level of the demand that the supply cannot satisfy at the moment. So we have to address that. And of course, the issue of the fiscal deficit, which continues to be too high.
The finance minister also highlighted government's progress in the reforming of statutory corporations. He says the Ministry of Sports has begun intense work with its own entities, including the Sports Council, the Gymnasium, and COMI. However, Minister Sinclair says government chose a different path in terms of the merging of the economic entities in tourism.
There have been some divestments of those. So the GEMS hotels, as we call it, Hotels and Resorts Limited Properties, one was leased out, it's operating on the lease. And the two others have been sold. And they're going to be replaced by private sector involvement. One much bigger. Of course, we've announced that we're going to do Hilton as well going forward. So we've moved in that particular direction. In relation to housing, we're continuing to work on that, to have the legal people look at the various statutes relating to urban and rural, which are two statutory corporations, and the National Housing Corporation.
The National Petroleum Corporation is now better equipped to enhance the island's energy security and sustainability by diversifying its energy matrix. It will do so through the promotion of clean fuels and increasing the use of renewable energy sources. This as government signed a $34 million loan agreement with the Inter-American Development Bank to fund a 6-year project titled Deployment of Cleaner Fuels and Renewable Energies in Barbados. During the signing at government headquarters, Finance Minister Chris Sinclair said the main objective is to upgrade Barbados' natural gas infrastructure. However, he added the project will do much more.
To increase energy efficiency, or EE/RE, renewable energy applications with MPC and the BNOCL operations to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and of course, you know, with the issues of climate change and the Paris agreements and all of those other things that we have willingly signed on to, that this will be a critical part of the process for Barbados to be able to meet some of those commitments. 3, to enable implementation of PPP, public-private partnership projects, to import and supply liquefied natural gas, LNG, for power generation. And 4, to provide technical support to the MPC and the BNOCL to foster organizational and operational efficiencies.
Increasing regulations in order to stamp out abuse of the financial system is having a negative impact on small businesses. That's according to President of the Barbados International Business Association, Gregory McConney. Mr. McConney made the comments while addressing a meeting put on by BIBA and the Barbados Chamber of Commerce.
It's alarming that the measures have now appear to have reached a point where they're creating an even larger issue in terms of a financial disenfranchisement for more and more small and medium-sized businesses and ultimately consumers. The loss of access to to basic financial services and payment mechanisms can really only result in the unbanked seeking alternative methods in order to conduct their business. And that can only lead to an even larger unregulated or black market.
There are plans to renovate the regional departure lounge at the Grantley Adams International Airport. Tristan Ward reports.
Persons traveling from Barbados to regional destinations may soon be met with a new and improved departure lounge as they wait for their flights. That's the word from Tourism Minister Richard Seeley. Speaking during the airline's Executive Lounge's 10th anniversary celebrations, Minister Seeley says the renovations will bring a modern and welcoming look to the lounge. He also outlined further plans for the airport.
We're going to install 5 boarding bridges. We're going to enclose the airside arrivals courtyard. We're going to expand the commercial retail area in terms of the number of operations and the range of the operations as well. We're going to provide more seating as well to the east of the present terminal building with a new mezzanine floor.
The minister says the culture and history of Barbados will be incorporated in the new design of the arrivals hall.
As we recognize, of course, and many countries have used their airports as marketing tools to highlight their culture and heritage, we consider that the design should incorporate our indigenous offerings. Historical and cultural authenticity will be featured. In essence, the imagery and the concepts should tell the story of Barbados. We see this in other airports. We need to see it in our own airport.
He's also encouraging Airlines Association Barbados Inc. to keep pace with the planned expansions.
But we also believe that having an adequate and modern lounge is critical to that effort. And I therefore encourage the team from the Airlines Association of Barbados to negotiate with the airport team to be a part of this expansion process, because this is a critical element of that operation.
Chairman of the Airlines Association Barbados, John White, says with 150 members, the lounge is proud of the progress it has made. He expressed optimism about the next 10 years.
We look forward to another 10 years of offering excellent product and facility to our passengers. And we look forward for our tourism product to keep growing. We know it will because of the excellent work being done at this time by Minister Seeley and his tourism team.
There have been more than 500,000 travelers who have passed through the lounge in the last 10 years. Tristan Ward, CBC News.
No Barbadians have been confirmed among the casualties nor injured from the fire that swept through the Grenfell high-rise apartment complex in London. The 24-story block built in 1974 caught fire in the wee hours of the morning. Barbados High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, Reverend Guy Hewitt, says the blaze has been declared a major incident. He sees it as another test of the country's emergency services after the recent terror attack on London Bridge. Speaking to CBC News from London, he said the area in which the Grenfell Tower is located is home to a huge Barbadian and Caribbean population.
It is in the precincts around which the Notting Hill Carnival is held each year, but we have been thankfully advised that no Bajans have been identified as any of the victims from the tragedy this morning, but we continue to monitor it, and we have offered our support to the community there. And with the other Caribbean High Commissioners, we are staying in contact with the authorities to be able to reach out not only to our citizens, but the community to assure them that will give whatever support is possible.
Reverend Hewitt explained that in the likelihood of a worst-case scenario, Barbados would be notified.
Once we have any report of any Barbadians, we would be in contact with the ministry and also try to provide any possible support to the families and reach out to their friends or relatives in Barbados to let them know.
And 12 people are confirmed dead after that fire. Today, confusion continues over what really happened.
It is the home for more than 100 families, which for hours has been the scene of unimaginable horror. A massive fire tore through that huge tower block. You can see it behind me, trapping residents in their homes. And we've been hearing harrowing stories of people jumping from the building. One woman reportedly throwing her baby to a man on the ground. So far, we know at least 12 people are dead. Police do say, though, that that number is expected to rise. Almost 80 people have been taken to the hospital. 18 of them are still in critical condition. Meantime, it has emerged that residents actually voiced concerns about safety in the tower block going back a number of years. 200 firefighters battled the inferno for hours, rescuing 65 people. Our Aaron McLaughlin brings us up to date on how the horror unfolded.
A massive fire in West London had caught hold in a 24-story tower block that housed hundreds of people.
Anybody who is speaking to the building, they need to ring 999. There is a dedicated line for this incident.
I heard shouting, it's getting bigger, it's getting bigger. I thought, what's going on here? And I could smell the smell even stronger. So I've gone to the front door, I've looked through the spy hole, and there was just smoke everywhere. So I've opened the door, see what's going on. There's neighbours all running out, people screaming as a fireman, and they're going, get out the block, get out the block. Half of the block was ablaze by the time we got done, and it was just spreading like wildfire.
As soon as I ran out, I saw already the fire holding one side, and inside we didn't know what's going on because nothing came inside, and we didn't know, no alarm, no water, nothing, you know, like it was very shocking.
40 fire engines and 200 firefighters battled through the night to bring the blaze under control. Firefighters say they had never experienced anything like it.
Crews from the Barbados Water Authority braved persistent showers to provide relief for customers who were affected by low water pressure and outages as a result of low levels at the Britons and Grandview reservoirs. Medical facilities, residential and other commercial customers in Rockley, Belleville, the South Coast, Highway 7, Navy Gardens, Rendezvous and other areas were among those served by tankers that were dispatched. Manager of Communications and the Rapid Response Unit, Joanne Haig, says BWA engineers are currently conducting an in-depth investigation into the matter. While customers may experience delays due to widespread nature of the outages, she stresses the authority is doing whatever it takes to ensure customers are served until investigations are completed. BWA crews were also busy working on a ruptured 18-inch main along Spring Garden. Engineers were able to isolate and redirect the water to minimize the impact of the outages there. Ms. Haig says only the Brighton area will be affected by outages. Water tankers will be dispatched in that area to assist residents tonight. The BWA apologizes for any inconvenience caused and reaffirms its commitment to the delivery of water to all. Okay, we'll take a short break here and come back with more news.
We start with a yes. But when life takes unexpected turns, you can still say yes to more. The Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard credit card gives you points with every purchase that you can use to travel to anywhere. Plus, with just 20,000 Scotia points, you can say yes to destinations. With Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard credit card, it's easier to say yes to everything. Apply today.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153# to sign up to Digicel today.
So, in an effort to test the credibility of this so-called speed squad, we have some random questions for you to answer. How quickly can you change clothes? The bag of groceries on the table. How fast can you guys prepare a meal? And go! All right. Which network gives you the speed you prefer and enjoy?
Join the fastest team and shift your Flow Fiber broadband into high gear by upgrading now at no extra cost for 3 months. Plus, enjoy the best of Flow TV for free.
Last question. Who's the fastest?
I had to ask.
Upgrade now.
Your insurance payment doesn't have to be a burden. At Beacon, we're happy to help finance your premium and spread your payments over 9 months so that it's easier to manage. Call 436-6200 or log on to beacon.co.tt.
Government remains committed to providing good working conditions for public servants, especially those in the essential services. This from Senator Maxine McLean as she led off debate on a resolution to vest land at Arch Hall St. Thomas in the National Housing Corporation. Senator McLean explains that a portion of the land will be used to expand the Arch Hall Fire Station. She says over the years, the Fire Cadet program there has been upgraded and there has been investment in new state-of-the-art equipment for the service. According to her, it's part of efforts to continue upgrading conditions for officers.
We have had, as part of this vesting, preparation to ensure that there was an enhancement of the Arch Hall Fire Service. And when we think of the northern part of the island, an important development was the expansion of the operations there. I also believe that it has also been utilized in terms not of firefighting, but an ambulance bay. And that, again, is important when we think in terms of response time.
An independent senator says he is amazed at the frequency of house fires in Barbados. But what has Professor Sir Henry Fraser even more concerned is that there does not seem to be any analysis of the causes of the blazes. Professor Fraser told the Senate he suffered $22,000 in fire damages due to a faulty fan some years ago.
We are having an epidemic of house fires in Barbados. There is no explanation for this huge increase in frequency in house fires. There appears to be no analysis, no report. There may be an analysis. Maybe the fire service has this information. But we're not looking after the preventive measures. We need to find out the causes and do something about it.
The Senate also discussed the National Social Responsibility Levy, which is to be increased by an additional 8% from July 1st. Senator Darcy Boyce explains that the levy is far easier to collect than others like income tax. Senator Boyce, who is also minister in the Prime Minister's office, says government has made good progress in collecting the earlier tax when it stood at 2%. He says in the meantime, work is being done on a set of guidelines on how the tax is to be collected.
What a tax like this does is it causes everybody to contribute to the revenue. It shifts from the burden of the salary class and the formal sector so that everybody pays a little something towards the revenue. And if you can't collect all that you should collect from income tax, from the means, all that you should collect, you have to find a way to collect from those who do not otherwise pay. Otherwise, they're what are called freeloaders, and we have to stop it. We have to stop that.
Senator Boyce also addressed suggestions that government should go to the International Monetary Fund for help with the economic problem. He acknowledged the fund might not force a country to devalue its dollar, while giving the benefit of consolidating debt and accessing lower interest rates.
If you were to consolidate the local debt the government has and use money from the IMF to consolidate that debt, a couple of things would happen. Yes, you will reduce your interest costs, but you will also now create a liability in foreign exchange. And you have far less control over managing your debt if it's in foreign exchange than if it is in local currency.
Opposition Senator Wilfred Abrams says government is caught up in a vicious cycle of borrowing to pay off its debt. And until he has a full picture of what the country owes, he cannot support any resolution to borrow a further $750 million through the insurance of Treasury bills. He further accused government of implementing policies through trial and error.
It is not good enough that policies of government are exposed and they drive the fear into the hearts of the common man. And we then hear things like, we put it out there to make it open for discussion. Now that we have heard what the comments are, we'll revisit it and we'll revise it. That is not good enough. This is not government or economics by trial and error. The people in Barbados need to have faith in their Minister of Finance. They need to have faith in the government. They need to have faith in the country. They need to have faith in the economy.
A government minister says it may soon become necessary to institute legislation making it mandatory for householders to get insurance. Minister of Transport and Works and MP for St. Philip North, Michael Lashley, says this may be the only way to adequately deal with such disasters.
The fact that when we have house fires, the Minister of Social Care is under tremendous pressure. I believe in the St. Michael area, so far for the year, we've had more than 10 house fires. And indeed, we're going into the hurricane season now, so you don't know what would happen. But indeed, we need to probably do an analysis of what would it take if some countries can have a compensation fund for victims. And if we can provide legal aid for persons who commit capital crimes like murder, but it is that the state cannot be involved in a compulsory form of home insurance to protect the poor and the vulnerable in this country.
Meantime, Member of Parliament for St. George North, Glenn Clark, says there's a catastrophe fund in place to assist people with housing. According to him, the fund was established under the previous Barbados Labour Party administration for emergency situations.
Opportunities exist within this fund that can be used to help not only persons who have a flood or a storm has washed out, blow away a house. We need, Mr. Speaker, to be creative in how we use this fund to help those persons who are in need or have a problem with the landlord, have a problem finding homes because of fire.
A government minister isn't in favor of high-rise housing units. In fact, Steve Blackett says it goes against what most Barbadians are accustomed to. He says people like to have little front and backyards, and those in authority should instead go back to having terrace units.
Especially the two-story ones, or even split-level kind of apartments. And we don't have to have, we have two, as far as I'm concerned, Mr. Speaker, we can have two solutions. One with all the frills, with all the finishes, which could be given at whatever the going price is. But then we can also have a no frills kind of apartment, Mr. Speaker, where no cupboards and no wardrobes are fitted. So people can go in and put in their own custom-made kind of finishes.
A 15-year-old schoolboy is now at the Government Industrial School accused of going on a burglary spree between May and June. Police say the Christchurch teenager committed 14 burglaries in the Oyston Station area. He appeared before Magistrates Elwood Watts in the Oyston Magistrates Court yesterday and will reappear on August 9th. Fire officials are probing a blaze at Vauxhall Christchurch, which extensively damaged a home early this morning. Officials tell CBC News the blaze occurred around 23 minutes after 6. Reports are that a neighboring home also sustained damage from the heat. 2 tenders and 7 officers under the command of Divisional Officer Marvin Mears and Station Officer Anthony King responded to the blaze. After the break, we'll take a look at stories making headlines across our region.
Have you or someone you know been diagnosed with diabetes? If so, it is important that you know about Glucerna. Glucerna is a nutritional supplement for people with diabetes and contains Carb Steady, which helps minimize blood sugar spikes. Manage your diabetes with Glucerna. Glucerna, nutrition for people with diabetes, designed for you.
Carry fast
you. Gary Festa for me. Gary Festa 13 Barbados. Gary Festa for you. Gary Festa for me. Gary Festa 13 Barbados. Over the years, since the 70s, they've come together in the Caribbean. Talented artists inspire creativity. Every territory exploding culturally. Gary Festa for you, Gary Festa for me. Gary Festa 13 for everybody. Mutual heritage, regional unity. Gary Festa 13 Barbados.
August 17th to 27th. Visit carefesta.net.
Beautiful Barbados and 4D Entertainment welcome you to the Flow Soca on the Hill. Sunday, July 23rd, 2017. Where the mega stars of Crop Over 2017 assemble with the Caribbean Fest. Patrice, Skinny Fabulous, Ricky T, Orlando Octave, and Ultimate Rejects to bring you the world's greatest soca party. The Flow Soca on the Hill. Let's gather the people.
Diamond Dazzler, it's time to play. Diamond Dazzler, the new instant $250,000 scratch game from the Barbados Lottery. Available at select lottery outlets.
Across the Caribbean, brought to you by CIBC First Caribbean.
Caribbean people should not give up the fight for reparations. This from Vice Chancellor of the University of the West Indies and historian Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, who delivered this year's annual George Lamin Distinguished Lecture. Professor Beckles warned a full auditorium time is of the essence in the case of reparations.
Even though there are people in the Caribbean whose parents were born in slavery, and many more whose grandparents were born in slavery, and therefore slavery is very present in the imagination of many households in the Caribbean. The British argument that it was a long, long, long time ago comes into focus if Britain is able to get through this for another 40 years. Then there will be no families in this region whose parents and grandparents were born in slavery.
Professor Sir Hilary, who is currently chairman of the CARICOM Reparations Commission, explained the Caribbean has been making its case for the past 200 years. Although being denied in the past by both the British House of Commons and its House of Lords, the professor argues the cases should be reopened. In making his point, he likened the Caribbean emancipation to a woman fleeing an abusive relationship with her children.
But while she took her children in flight from the tyrant, she has also disconnected from the assets that were jointly accumulated with the tyrant. And so in celebrating her freedom and her independence, she has consigned her children to poverty. Because not only did she need to be free of that tyrant, she also needed a good lawyer to make sure she got her share of the resources for her children.
Trinidad and Tobago's opposition leader Kamla Prasad-Bissessar says the government has a number of questions to answer as they relate to the procurement process used to secure a new vessel for the Tobago Sea Bridge. The UNC political leader has described the government's action as reckless.
Today I want to give Prime Minister Rowley the SS Rowley.
Opposition leader Kamla Prasad-Bissessar as she jokingly offers a solution to the sea bridge woes facing the government. During a public meeting in St. Helena on Monday, Prasad-Bissessar took a jab at Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley's handling of the situation. She says the decision to procure a mega-jet vessel from Greece may not end the transport troubles.
I'm told that the boat is in cat ferry-like, the same way like the Spirit and the Express. Difference is it is 4 years older than those. 4 years older. I'm told that the boat started in a contract with the Azores, but our government is negotiating not to buy it, but they want to buy out the contract that this boat has with the Azores. I'm told the boat is about $8 million, but I'm told in negotiations we are negotiating for to pay $10 million US.
According to her, the arrangements being made to secure the vessel are not in accordance to best practice.
There has been absolutely no tender process by the Port Authority, by the CTB, or by anyone. Mr. Grange works for a Canadian firm known as Bridgman Marine. And they're not buying the boat, as I said, outright, but they're going to try to contract out or buy out the contract in some way without tender. I am being told that this boat, the negotiations, is to pay 18,000 euros per day.
The opposition leader is calling on the Prime Minister to clear the air on several issues raised with the procurement process of the mega jet vessel, warning further silence will only add to the confusion and misinformation being disseminated.
In Jamaica, former opposition leader and MP for Southwest St. Andrew, Portia Simpson Miller, is among two People's National Party stalwarts stepping down as MPs later this month. Mrs. Simpson Miller and MP for South St. Andrew, Dr. Omar Davies, will officially resign on June 29th. Leader of opposition business Philip Powell says the country is witnessing the beginning of a historical changing of the guard when two sitting members of adjoining constituencies will simultaneously take their bow. He says at a future date, the Parliament will pay tribute to both members for their services to the people, the Parliament, and Jamaica.
Across the Caribbean, brought to you by CIBC First Caribbean.
A peek into the world of sports is just ahead, but before we get there, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.